The Icons of Real Estate podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business. From $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Ardor SEO.
Hello, guys, and welcome to yet another episode of the Icons of Real Estate podcast. With us today, we have Danny Burgess, owner and team lead for PorchLight Bay Area, an investor and a real estate coach. Welcome to the show, Danny.
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me, Tomas.
Everything is going on. So tell me, where is this mansion you're at right now?
This mansion right here is my new RV that I just purchased. This is a 25-foot Mercedes-Benz 2019. We remodeled the entire interior, and now because I have a screaming baby inside, 7 months old, I take most of my meetings and shoot video here from the RV.
No, okay, so this is your office, basically.
This is my new office. Yeah, I'm still getting used to it, so I apologize for the sound and the light. I'm still figuring all this out.
Well, if knowledge goes through, it's all good. So tell me, Danny, we usually start the podcast with your real estate journey. So do tell.
Yeah, got into real estate 7.5 years ago in the San Francisco Bay Area. At that time, I was a bartender, waiter, Lyft driver, Uber driver. And for about a year, I was working 4 or 5 jobs when I got licensed. And I was commuting about an hour down to Palo Alto to try to work my way through the real estate industry, learn as much as I could with some of the big dogs in Silicon Valley. And that was 7.5 years ago. Since then, I've built 3 teams, failed perfectly on the first 2. And then just recently, about 18 months ago, is when I joined EXP and then moved my small team that had remained over and started building what we have today, which is about 14 real estate agents, a couple back-end people, and my wife as well on the team.
Nice. And so you were an independent brokerage before, is that it?
No, I was with Keller Williams for 6 years.
Okay.
And they did a lot for me. Moved around to a couple different offices, a couple different team leaders, but found a better opportunity when I moved over to EXP.
Obviously. And did you manage to bring all the agents in your team through EXP?
So interestingly enough, when I was making the decision to move over, I had a thought of going back solo. And so I actually disbanded the team for a very short period of time. And then my top agents actually came back to me and said, Dan, come on, let's do this. And that was kind of the North Star and there was the light for me to say, hey, I should be running a team. I am a great team leader. And so I went back to that team model when they came back and asked me to do so. Well,
if your team members ask you to lead them, it's pretty much the reason to be a team leader.
Yeah, it was a good sign.
But yeah, Danny, so as a team lead and a coach, what do you find to be the best nuggets that you can teach your mentees?
Yeah, I mean, if we're a new agent, I guess even if we're a tenured agent, what we talk about quite often is mindset, right? I think that's where the battle is won and lost, whether you're in real estate or not. And we talk, 60 to 70% of the stuff we do is about mindset and your schedule and how you're controlling the things that are within your control. I think if you can win the morning, if you can win your mindset each day, then real estate has no ceiling for you. So we talk a lot about that. Of course, lead generation, the KPIs, and tracking our numbers and trying to get on top of, just the simple stuff, which I think is what most of us ignore. So that's what we talk most about with coaching.
Yeah, the simple stuff that is simple, but it needs to be effective in order to work, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what type of lead generation do you usually bet in your PorchLight Bay Area team?
So when I first got in the industry, for me, it was all about canceled, expired, open houses, basically low overhead, do the stuff that was the cheapest. So I became really, really strong with scripts and calling. And so I think in my best year, I took on 13 or 14 expired or canceled listings. And then I probably got about 15 to 20 deals through open houses. And then of course my sphere and everything else helped push the rest of the units. But for me, it was about those kind of old school type things. And so that's what I taught my agents is to be strong on the phone, be strong on the scripts. And then that was where we started. Of course, today we're part of the Zillow Flex group. We also have, PPC running. And once again, we have a ton of data that we collect, most likely to sell. We have one ISA. And so we take leads wherever we can get them. We're kind of a grindy type of a team, and we go hunt every single day.
Nice. Yeah, because those traditional methods, they still work today. But like in terms, so you said that you got 13 expired listings, just so we understand a bit, like what was the conversion rate on that one? Like how many calls did you make to get that number? And how is your team like handling on as well within that method?
For me, the conversion is pretty high. So, probably every 6 or 7 expired or canceled sellers I used to speak to, I would set an appointment and I would convert, I'd say close to 80% of those listing consultations, just because I was getting in the door, I think faster than anyone else. Yeah. And I was just more hungry and more aggressive. Of course, our marketing and our listing presentation and package has been perfected over time. We also offer a commission menu for these canceled and expired sellers who are having an issue with commissions. So my conversion rate is going to be a little bit higher. I'd say my team's conversion rate is something like maybe every 20 canceled and expireds they talk to, they set an appointment, and maybe they convert something like 50% of the appointments they go on. So we're still working on conversion rates, and that's why we get up and practice at 8 a.m. every single morning. Nice.
And yeah, you got to work the numbers and see whatever works out. If you need to call 50, you call 50 to get what you want.
Yeah, I mean, 20 expired and canceled listings can be called, I'd say in a little bit more than an hour, maybe an hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes through the dialer. And, to get one appointment, and if you're converting at 50%, you're making $10,000 an hour, right? That's not bad.
Well, it's not bad at all. So you say that I saw it in your Instagram profile that your target is 190 million right for 2022. Are you on track for that?
Yeah, so I update that page almost daily. So yeah, we're actually 1 percentage point behind that goal. I think we're right on track right now for about 145 units for 185 million, something like that. We're moving pretty fast, and as the market starts to shift, I start screaming from the top of the mountain, we got to increase our numbers. So we'll see. We're right on track for that number. Last year we did just over 90 units for about 120 million, and that was when we were just ramping up the team. So I had a lot to do with that production, and I really want my agents to succeed, and I want them to live a big life, and we got to close deals if that's what we want to do.
Yeah, so like you're focused, of course, like in growing your team, but you still take a big part in the production. Is that right?
Last year, I was about a third of our team production, maybe even more. Actually, probably about 35% of our team production. This year, I'll be closer to 15% of our production. I'll probably sell 20 out of the 150 homes we sell. So, I want to be less and less in production so I can help more agents grow their businesses. And I can't do that if I'm, servicing buyers and sellers. So it's one of those things that you talk to team leaders around the country, and it's that middle point where you just don't know if you can get out of production. And, that's where I'm at right now. So if there's anybody out there who has advice for me, please DM me. I'd love to hear from team leaders who have gotten out of production.
I bet there is. And if you see some of the other episodes of the Icons of Real Estate, I guess you can find some advice for that. And but yeah, like how do you plan to then like grow your team into the case that like you'll have 0% of production and you'll be focused 100% on growing?
So it's like a long journey. You know, as I said, this is my third attempt at growing a team, and what I found is, you know, you start with culture, and you find the right culture fits, and as long as you find people who are the right culture fits to your team, you know, then you can get in touch with kind of their best self. And so we look for people who are great culture fits to our team. That's the first thing. And you know, I think if we can get 10 to 15 agents to fulfill their true potential in real estate, then there's nothing else any of us need to worry about. So that's the goal. You know, by the end of the year, I hope to have 15 to 20 agents on the team. So then 10 of them can be productive, and the other 10 can kind of be working out their skills and figuring out how they're going to make it in the business. So it's really just about attracting the right people to the team, making sure that they're great culture fits, making sure that they're tapping in every single day to the trainings. I think if you do that, there's really nothing else to worry about.
Yeah, and how can you tell if someone fits into the culture or not? Like, or how fast can you tell? Like, is this just an appointment type of interpretation, or is that something that you need more months into getting to know?
Yeah, I think if you talk to any team leader around the country, they'll say that everyone interviews really well. So you're dealing with like people who want to be in sales. So everyone's going to sound great over the interview, right? If you say, hey, what's your best attributes? They're going to say all the things that you want to hear.
Yeah.
So, you know, even though I'm a good test of character, even though I can kind of feel people out really well, you just don't know until the rubber hits the road, right? You don't know until they tap in to the team. I've had one agent leave basically because of bad culture fit, and that person seemed to be a great culture fit up front. And slowly over time, you see that there's a disconnect from the team. There's a disconnect from showing up. You don't hear from them as often.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they say, hey, you know, I'm out of here. And it's hard. I mean, you just never know. So I think Mark was one of the guys who taught me was, you know, he said, you don't know until you put them into your first 30 days of action. And after 30 days, if you know they haven't taken the action that you've asked them to, then that's a sign. So there's no magic bullet. You kind of have to fall forward and onboard people, offboard people to figure out, you know, who your perfect avatar is.
Yeah, and that's why in companies they have a probation period, right? So you could say that even like in real estate teams, you kind of have like an invisible probation period. Obviously, like you're not going to give him like less commission on the first month, right? But it's like your introspective probation period to see if he's a good fit or not.
Yeah, I'm putting my hat backwards because the light is terrible. It's driving me crazy.
It's okay. You look good both ways. Yeah, for everyone that is actually looking at the video. But yeah, so like you're talking about team culture. Do you think that was the reason that the other two tries into creating your own team wasn't very successful? Or what was the reason?
Yes and no. I think the first attempt I made, I was just way too early in my career. I didn't understand value proposition for agents, right? I wasn't giving them enough. I think that my value proposition today on my team is arguably one of the best in the industry. Like, to be on my team, you get the world from me. Back in the day, I wasn't giving them lead flow. I wasn't giving them nearly the amount of coaching, training, and accountability that I am today. So my agents weren't able to be productive. So I was taking on new agents with no lead flow and really no sense of where we need to go. Where's the ship going? And then I also took on a staff member early on and gave them I don't know, maybe it was a $70,000 salary. And I just couldn't afford doing that. That was just a silly move on my part. This was maybe 2 years into the business. I had no business hat on at all. And so very quickly, you know, the money just ran out and I had to just disband the team. So there just wasn't enough value for the agents. And the second try was actually a better run at it. I had a business partner He had actually started the team. He brought me on as a business partner, kind of a sales manager type of a thing. And then we started splitting the revenue. But once again, the culture, the vision wasn't there. And the value proposition to the agents just was so light. And so you build resentment from the agents. If you're taking 50 or 25% of each one of their deals, but they're not getting anything massive in return, their life isn't changing. It's a bad setup. And I think that's the biggest reason why team leaders fail. They haven't really figured out what their value proposition is, and why should an agent stay with them and be with them.
Nice. And you make that very clear since from the start. Then now that it's your third strike, right? Do you think this will be the one?
It feels like it. We're going into a market shift, and I'm always paranoid. And you ask my sales manager Charlene Brown, I'm always trying to figure out where we can get better and how we can make sure that these agents succeed. For me, I'm a huge empath. So when I look in the eyes of my agents and I see that they have children and they have things going on in their life, I don't want to make promises to them that I can't fulfill, and I don't want them to fall short on their goals. So I'm always looking for things that could go wrong and are going wrong that we can fix. And like I said, with the market shift coming up, I think every team is about to be tested. Should the market shift, and it's going to rattle some cages. So time will tell, but I feel really good about the people we have and the systems we have set up. And I have optimism towards what we're doing right now.
Nice. Yeah, and every threat is also an opportunity, so you just have to choose the side you're on.
Absolutely, man.
And of course, you're here on the podcast, so you're an Icon agent yourself, right? Can you tell us a bit of the journey until you reach the Icon level status, and if there's any advice you can give to the audience that is still looking for that gold?
Yeah, I mean, I joined EXP 18 months ago, and I Icon pretty quickly on both years. But let's just pretend we're talking about getting to that unit count. Once again, we have to control our schedule. I think that's just critical. I see some really great agents who say yes to way too many things. So always keep in mind that every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And I would just audit your life and see what you're allowing to dictate your schedule. And if you're looking to be a millionaire real estate agent or a top producing agent, and you're not using your calendar like very tightly, it's going to be very difficult. You're going to have high anxiety, high stress. You're probably going to be late for appointments. You got to get your calendar and your schedule tight. Own the morning. I'm sure you've heard that a million times for whoever's listening to this. Just own the morning. If you could just own from 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. in real estate, if you could just control that one section of your day, nothing will be able to stop you. But what happens is we don't control that morning. So what ends up happening is our mornings spill into our afternoons, and then we look at our day and we're like, whoa, it was a very busy day, but what the heck did we do? Did we actually move the needle at all in regards to deal flow?
Yeah, exactly. You got to focus as well on the dollar making activities.
That's it. That's all that matters, man.
Yeah, we just had the previous episode was with Nolly Williams, and he was like promoting the 3-hour workday, and it was like we're talking about that, making tasks that actually count. And yeah, you told me like you wake up at 4 a.m. Like I would like to talk about that just a minute. Like, when did you start that habit? Who was the instigator of that habit, and did that bring already some profits?
Oh man, that's been life-changing. I always say I think it's the one thing that really moved the needle the most, because by the time most people wake up, I have half a workday in front of them, right? I've already accomplished so much. Yeah. I think it started with Josh Smith. I think he's out of Arizona. He's the guy who runs GSD group. I think he has a podcast as well. He was waking up at I think he was waking up at 4. And so I started waking up at 3:59, because I was like, if this guy's in front of me, I need to be better than him. So I started waking up at 3:59. I think that was about 3 or 4 years ago. when I started waking up at 3:30 or 4 o'clock. And, it took about a year for it to really kind of solidify my life. And now, you ask my wife, and it's really hard for me to sleep past 5. And usually I'm up right around 4:15 pretty naturally. But it allows you to kick everything out of the way. So any email that has come through, any scheduling conflicts, anything that you're doing in your day, you get to knock that out before anyone's even awake. You get to really dive deep on your mindset every single morning. So of course, read the Miracle Morning. That's where I stole most of the stuff that I do. So that's just journaling, meditating, exercising, giving yourself affirmations, writing down your goals. All of these things are just critical to, you're kind of just recorrecting the ship every morning, right? Or the plane, however you want to look at it. So your mind believes it, right? And that's why we do that.
Nice. And your wife doesn't have any problem with you leaving bed at 4 a.m. Does she also wake up at 4 a.m.?
No, she's up at like 7:30 or 8. But that's the whole point, guys. Like if our people aren't in our world of sales, they're going to be waking up at 7:30 or 8. So if you're waking up at 7:30 or 8, guess what? Your worlds are going to be colliding. So you need to get ahead of the world, right? You need to have 2 or 3 hours by yourself. So if everyone else is waking up at 7 and you're waking up at 7, are you going to be able to get anything done, right? When your kids are running around, when the wife's running around, when your clients are emailing and texting you, and all of a sudden they're taking your time in your world. And that's why it's critical to get up before them, because now all of a sudden you've won back a lot of time.
Yeah. And it's so the audience knows it's already 7:30 a.m. for you, maybe some people are still eating their milk and cereal. And I bet you already did a shit ton of work, and now you're doing a podcast.
Yeah, so we'll have a podcast done. We'll have exercise done. We've got a lot done already in the last 2.5 hours or so. So, it's nice. It works,
Nice. That's the tip for the audience, to start waking up earlier.
Yeah, and I'll give you a tip on that. Let's just get a little tactical on that. Every person I've heard say, I'm not a morning person, right? Like how many people have we heard say, I'm not a morning person? Truth is, we're all whatever we want ourselves to be. There's no such thing as I'm not a morning person. It's whatever you choose to do. So if you want to become a morning person and you want to do it gradually, what you want to do is, every other week, set your alarm clock for 15 minutes before. So if you get up at 7, set it for 6:45. 2 weeks later, set it for 6:30. And slowly peel that Band-Aid off. It's just not practical to think that you can start waking up at 4 a.m., even though that's what I did, and function properly, because you're probably still going to bed at midnight or 11 or 10. So let's do this slowly, right? And as long as you're waking up earlier, eventually you'll start falling asleep earlier. You're just gonna be more tired. So do it slowly and do it over time, and eventually you can work yourself down to 5 or 4 a.m., whatever works for you.
Nice. And yeah, Danny, tell us. I know you already talked about your goals, but now if you could go a bit more deep into that, like where do you go from here in terms of 2022, and of course more upcoming years?
Yeah, so I mean, the end goal is to be out of production, and then I would say the end goal is to give this team to one of my agents eventually. I'd love to get 7th level on this thing, have a sales manager, have a team leader, and allow them to take this team further. And then of course, my passion and my dreams is to be in coaching, maybe not full time, but maybe, 60 to 70% of my time to be in coaching. And then of course I enjoy investing out of state and creating passive income streams, which is another reason why I'm with EXP. But I'm interested in multifamily out of state, and I'd say all of that is the kindling to my big why, which is to travel the world with my family, which is what we really enjoy to do.
Nice. I hope you'll make that, and you seem to be on the right path, Danny. And now wrapping up here, but a question now, a bit more in the coaching perspective, like introspective, more like that. And it's like, in what areas do you feel you need to improve, and what are you doing about it?
Most of the failures I see within myself and within others are very similar. So it's about systems and it's about foundation. The more systematized we are, the easier life gets. So up front, it's hard to build systems, right? Or at least it's maybe cumbersome to build systems, right? We feel uncomfortable building systems and foundations. And the reality is every time that we do make a system, we're saving ourselves hours and hours and hours down the road. Most of the realtors I know, we're just high I's and high D's. And so it's really hard for us to slow down and build out these systems and foundations to our team. But the sooner that we do that, the easier life gets. So for example, today, I'm revamping our PorchLight University. So our university, as you join our team, you can go through and you don't have to call Danny or Charlene every single day and say, hey, how do I do this? How do I do this? Right? You want to have a system in place for these agents and for your buyers and sellers to utilize so you can save time. So I'd say my biggest weakness is just those small details within the systems of building a team is where I really need help and where I kind of have introspective moments, every single day. But I have to understand that, this takes time and it's brick by brick. It just doesn't come all at once. So I'm happy with where we are. And I know that we have a lot further to go.
Yeah, exactly. And if you work on that, you'll fulfill the goals. It goes hand in hand. And yeah, Danny, tell us how can our audience reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So give me a follow on The Giving Agents on Instagram. It's a great place to follow. Hopefully I give you some value there, some tips and tricks and market updates regarding, real estate from a realtor perspective, not necessarily a buyer or seller. So that my Instagram is tailored mostly to realtors. And then of course, online on Facebook, Danny Burgess. I'm not too active on LinkedIn or anything, but if you want to message me there, I'll get to it eventually. And then mainly Instagram, follow me there. And if you're a realtor, please go to the Giving Agents Referral Network and Mastermind on Facebook as well. We have about 30,000 members across the country. I'd love to get some more people there and interacting.
Well, impressive. That's a big Facebook group.
It is. It is. I just don't allow spam to come through there. So we only get a couple posts in there today, but I'd love to open up conversations, be able to help more agents there as well.
Nice. Perfect, Danny. So thank you for the tips and tricks that you also provided here on the podcast. And I hope, and I thank you as well for joining the Icons movement. And I hope you continue to get that icon level and grow your team to the roof.
Thanks, Tomas. I appreciate you having me and keep kicking butt. I look forward to seeing what you guys do.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, man.